I'm Priya Nelkar-Pai, and I'm the founder of the RoundTable Institute. We help leaders and teams maximize their potential. Outstanding leaders read a ton. Bill Gates reads 50 books a year, Mark Zuckerberg reads 1 book every 2 weeks, and Oprah, well, she's got her own book club. But what good is reading if you don't remember what you've read? If you want to maximize your leadership, you must also maximize your learning and, importantly, understand how to learn better. So here's a few things to keep in mind to get the most out of your reading. First, have a reason to read. Spell it out. When you sit down to read, before you even open the book, complete this sentence. I'm reading blank, and my reason for reading it is blank. When you do this, you set an expectation for your brain to fulfill. So for example, I might say, I'm reading a book about teamwork, and my reason for reading it is to find some tangible tools to share with my clients about how to manage conflict. Now that I've clearly defined my purpose, my brain's going to look for ways to achieve that purpose. It's really important to have a good reason because that's going to make your reading more deliberate. And it helps you engage more deeply with the material, making it easier for you to remember what you've read. So suppose I said, my reason for reading this book is because I've always wanted to read it. Then I just read it to complete it, not to learn anything from it. Second, share with others what you have read. So tell someone about it or write a summary for social media so that others can follow along. But don't let yourself spend more than 3 minutes on this. Keeping it concise locks in the learning and disciplines your mind. Third, experience what you've read. So if you learned a new lesson about conflict management, for example, go and practice it as soon as you can. Or if you're like me and you love the language in To Kill a Mockingbird, go and use some of those same words in an email or a conversation, even if it has nothing to do with the book. So there's a great quote in that book. People generally see what they look for and hear what they listen for. Couldn't you hear yourself using that in a conversation? Finally, reflect on what you just read. For example, what questions are you left with? What are 2 new things you learned? Or what's changed for you now that you've read it? Your learning isn't done just because you finished the book. Avoid that temptation to quiz yourself on what you just read. That's something you do when you're studying or memorizing. When you're learning, you get curious and you go deep. So all of these steps should take very little extra time, but they're certainly going to take much more of your attention. In our RoundTable for Leaders program, we routinely discuss what we're reading and, importantly, what we're learning from our reading. Not only do we get to learn and share in the experience of reading, but we also maximize our own reading time. So what are you reading now? Try these principles and let me know what you think.